Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Christina. I want to present our paper entitled Supporting Students' Mathematical Literacy, a description of pretest-posttest results from the development of the numeracy module. This article is a joint publication between Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta and Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember. But the authors, the first, the second, the third, and the last author are from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, and the fourth author is from Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember. Now I want to tell you about the background of our research. Some people think that school mathematics or how students learn mathematics in school is less useful in real life. They think that mathematics in school is about counting lesson. In fact, there are various fields in our life that needs mathematics, like finance, social and culture, economic, and so on. Indeed, students in 21st century, they will face with more complex problems. So they have to ability how to formulate, use, and interpret mathematics to solve problems in various contexts in real world, or we call it mathematical literacy. And there are many organizations in the world that concern about mathematical literacy. They monitor the outcomes of education systems. One of them is about mathematical literacy, about students' readiness to work and live in society. The first is about OECD. OECD monitor about PISA, Program for International Student Assessment, and also IEA, it's monitor about TIMSS, trends in international mathematics and science study. Or many countries maybe have their own instrument. Like in Indonesia, we have assessment competency minimum, or we call it AKM. One point that government monitors in this assessment is about literacy and numeracy, or we call it mathematical literacy. In this framework, in numeracy, in Indonesia, we usually call mathematical literacy as numeracy. There are three characteristics. The first is about the cognitive domain. It consists of knowing, applying, and reasoning. And about the content, it consists of quantity, geometry, data, and uncertainty, and algebra. And the last about the context, it consists of personal, sociocultural, and scientific. Therefore, teachers have to support students to develop their mathematical literacy by using appropriate teaching material. Because of the importance of mathematical literacy or numeracy in school curriculum, some researchers in Indonesia began to develop to support numeracy learning. They design about question about numeracy, worksheet, or maybe some learning media. Besides, the Indonesian government have facilitated students and teachers to use numeracy module in school, but there are no numeracy module in junior high school to support numeracy learning, especially on integer content and their operation, or it's about the content of quantity. Our study aim to develop a numeracy module on the content of numbers, or it's a part of quantity content, especially about integers and their operation. But this article only describes about students' cognitive skill before and after the trial of the numeracy module on an episode of numeracy-oriented learning. This research uses ADDIE models, especially in the phase of evaluation, we use qualitative descriptive method. The subjects consist of 27 junior high school students in Central Java. The data consists of the result of student work about pretest and post-test before and after students learn to use the numeracy module. We design the tests based on indicators and numeracy context, and we use investigator triangulation to validation the data, and to data analysis we use reduction, data presentation, and then conclusion. The first we will tell you about the test. The first is about weather forecast application problem, and the second is about office building. In weather forecast application problems, we try to solve students' context about application in their smartphone about the temperature in some coldest area in the world, like in Canada, Alaska, Dieng in Central Java, and also Estonia. In this application experience, there are three numbers. It's about the current temperature, the day temperature, and at night temperature. And the second is about office building, especially about the floor directory on a lift. This is the example question in its cognitive domain. The questions that you look on the screen is about weather forecast application problems. And for the other questions, you can see on our article. In knowing level, we try to ask students to put current temperature position in Estonia and Alaska. And the second, in applying, we try to ask students to sort area from the coldest temperature at night. And on listening level, we try to ask students to choose the most appropriate statement of 4 statements. This is the result of the pretest that student did about knowing, applying, and listening. The green is about weather forecast application, and then the orange is about office building. And there were about 88% students who understand about information in office building, but only about 33% students who understand about weather forecast application information. And also the reasoning level, they were lower than the knowing or applying level. Now we will discuss more detail about the pretest result. The first is in knowing level. We give you 3 examples. In the first picture, students just writing down the current temperature of -6 and -1, which are this is a night temperature, even though the question is about current temperature. And the second, students appears to depict an arrow on the number line from 0 to -2, and then turn on to the opposite direction about 3 steps to the number 1. So if it's stated in mathematics model, we can write -2 plus 3 equals to 1. So the student just write down the current temperature in Estonia as -2, and the temperature in Alaska he stated as 1. And the last, student appears to be operating its number on its weather forecast in for region. In fact, in knowing level, students are only required to take information from the stimulus without conducting any analysis. And then in the applying level, at the first problem, we ask students to sort the coldest region from the coldest temperature. The first student tried to writing down the nighttime temperature, and then it issue for him to sort it. And the second students, they just sorting without presenting data. So it results in accuracy in the order of the coldest region. And about the second problem, we try to ask students choose one statement, true or false. In this case, students answer true. They try to estimate the difference between two floors by scribbling in their work, and then it leads to inaccuracy to determine the position of the birthplace. Therefore, he failed to solving this routine problem. And the last is about listening. In this level, we give you the example of the problem one. We ask students to choose the most appropriate statement. They try to explain their reason about the statement. In point A, student write the option A, that in the daytime temperature on the outcrow have temperature 3 degrees Celsius, while the temperature in Dieng is 4 degrees Celsius. So the statement relates to the temperature about night temperature, not the day temperature. Inaccuracy in reading statements leads to inaccuracy to take information. So in the next stage of evaluation, they will fail. Based on the analysis of pretest, we try to do an episode of numeracy learning by using numeracy module. We point out that students must understand the information and fact in problems before they moving to another level. So they have to understand the problem before they move to applying or reasoning problems. Based on the post-test result, the post-test shows better results consistently in pretest or post-test result. Students' cognitive skill in solving floor direction context in office building are more optimal than in the context of weather forecast application. And one of the important results is we can compare that from the pretest, and we compare it with the post-test result. We can see that in its aspect, in knowing, applying, or reasoning, in context, weather forecast application problem, or in floor directory problems, there is an improvement, and the greatest result is in applying level. The conclusion of this study is students who are able to complete the pretest numeracy problem in the context of weather forecasting application on the cognitive process of knowing, applying, and reasoning with about 33%, 74%, and 11% respectively. But in the four direction context, the student cognitive skill is look better. Based on this result from the data analysis, we can conclude that the lack of student skill in taking information and data in the problem, it will affect inaccuracy when they solving, applying, and reasoning level questions. So by implementing the numeracy module in our episode of numeracy-oriented learning, it can improve students' numeracy skill. And the last, we have recommendation for teacher based on this study. Organizing meaningful mathematics learning is important. A teacher can use personal, sociocultural, or scientific context, integrating them into their mathematics learning. For example, teacher can use product nutrition label for teaching mathematics, or they can use batik for students around Solo City, or they can use how to predicting a good time to farm as a mathematical context for students in Kuningan Regency. Besides, teacher have to point out about student understanding in the data and information on the problems so that the mathematical learning will be meaningful for students. Thank you for watching our presentation. Don't forget to subscribe and put your comment below. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.